On the money side, yeah, because you can make money pretty fast being a wedding photographer, event photographer, yeah. But this talk is not about that, but it's to bring your sensitivity into another level. Not so much about the camera, but it's about you. How do you train yourself? Yeah. Okay. The question before I wrote the book, I always ask myself, what is photography? Yeah. We always go back to the source. It's like, what is art? What is architecture? What is urban design? You know, you try to unravel a question like this, and you can hopefully go a step further. Yeah. Okay. When I was going through, because I shot during 15 years old, and now I'm like 47, right? About a couple of years back, I look at what I've shot when I was a kid. Yeah. Those were the days where we shoot with negative. So every shot is expensive. Yeah, every shot is like 10 cents. You just snap 10 cents off, you know. Because the film itself probably cost you $3, $4, you know, that kind of thing. And then later on, you still have to develop. You still have to print them. So every shot is very expensive. Unlike now, every shot is like we call it trigger happy. I don't know whether it's still anybody know this word called trigger happy. No, those were the days when photographer, they keep on shooting non-stop. We call them trigger happy, you know, because each trigger they shoot, they were so happy about it. Yeah. Okay. Anybody use film now? Anybody? No. So everyone holds a digital cameras. I guess so. Anybody making money out of photography now? Put up your hand. Put up your hand. Come on. Show me your hand. Oh, okay. So good life, yeah. As a student making money, yeah. That's one way you can supplement your living, your pocket money. That's what I did also when I was 15 and 16 years old. I was hired to shoot for magazine, sport magazine. So Tennis Circle at that point of time, I think now gone off the shelf already, and Squash Circle, yeah. But beside that, looking back at the photograph I shot, you know, like when I was 15 years old with my first camera, this was shot in Kallang River. This was my first camera, the Mamiya NC1000S. It's not the medium format Mamiya, because Mamiya had actually, in those days, tried to manufacture a 35mm cameras, a SLR, yeah, a single lens reflex. So this was shot with a 50mm lens. When I look at this picture, well, it brings back a lot of memories, yeah. So, and this was a river then in Kallang. If you go to Singapore now, you totally could not recognize the river. Yeah? And this person actually went to the river, looked at the river for quite a while before it went off. I think, to me, I mean, we are just postulating when we take a photograph. It's almost like he's thinking about when they're coming to Singapore and they've been staying here for quite some time, and what is he going to do with his life, I guess, you know. That's my thinking. But it may not be his thinking. So every pictures we have shot, actually we create a second meaning to it, right? Unlike what is actually happened, because we will know. But how do we read the picture? How do we look at it? And we derive meaning from it. Yeah. So I look back at my photograph, and then I realized one thing. Those photographs that I won during competition actually didn't really matter so much now, because they are just beautiful pictures. But it doesn't have that meaning that I could recall now. You know, like beautiful girls with red umbrella, scenic view, you know, two swans in the lake, you know, that kind of thing. But this photograph actually make me feel about life, about existence, yeah. And this is a couple of shots down the road, and we still have a, I think it's a Chinese junk, you know, those with the sail and all that, yeah. And there will be people bathing even in the dirty river in Kallang. You know, those days really dirty, it's all black water. But livelihood is not so simple. So people fish and people bathe, and they keep themselves alive using the river. Yeah. Right behind, you can see the stadium. Yeah. So that stadium is going to go soon. In fact, gone already. Demolished, and we're going to have what you call a new hub. Yeah. So a picture like this. If someone had been through that bit of the life, you can recall it. But of course, when we remove the architectural bit, which is what they call the landmark, suddenly the memory is reduced. And it's very difficult to relate to maybe people like 20 years old. They don't even see that stadium, or even younger, they don't even see that stadium. So the picture becomes to a certain extent, an imaginary landscape. It happened before, but now, the new generation, the new consciousness, you don't see it. So it becomes a very theatrical thing, So when I look back at that, I realized photograph had a possibility. All photographs have possibility that we do not realize when we snap it. And these are the photographs that don't really make it to competition. Our mind rejects. Yeah, the next one. Yeah. And then pictures like this, just street scene shot. But look at the way the sweets are being sold, in small little bottle, and people could survive just selling like simple sweets. Unlike now, you have in the shopping mall. Yeah, and kids. And then, I put up these pictures, and what happened was in the Facebook, and they were people who recall what happened. So they recognized the lady, and they said the lady actually is going to bathe, because during those days you don't really have a bathroom on the second floor of the shop houses, right? Yeah, Singapore have to go through what they call gentrification, where you put in the pipes and all those. Otherwise, all the sewer water is going into we call it the surface drain. Yeah, because in Singapore now we use this two systems: the sewer drainage system and the surface drain, where we drain off the rainwater. I guess in Malaysia it's also the same thing. Yeah, so you prevent sewer water from going into the river. Yeah, so the river can be kept clean. Yeah. And the sewer water will go to a centralized place where it will be clean, and then water will be let off. Yeah. Okay. So pictures has a form of history that we can recall. And this is another shot on the street. Yeah. It was my favorite pastime to take a camera, roam the street, see something that I've never seen before, and snap the pictures. So I've done quite a fair bit of that, but not many pictures have snapped, because each shot is 10 cents gone. Yeah, 10 cents, 20 cents, you get a bowl of me during those days. Yeah, it's a lot of money. Yeah, so we have to find ways to snap that single one shot. Yeah, but I'm glad that I did that couple of shots lah. Not many of them, but it really brings back a lot of memories to me, and in a way my past existence. Yeah. And at the same time, I could then relate it to my children, my friends, and audience like you guys. Yeah. Another scene. This is quite common in Chinatown. Yeah. Fortune teller, writers, where they will write some words for you so you can hang up during Chinese New Year. Yeah. Okay, another one where people make cane so that they can put into the sea to capture fishes. It's like a very simple form of traps. But I don't think anybody can make this kind of trap now. And I guess probably you have to find other places like in Malaysia or Indonesia where people are still making such traps and let go in the sea. Yeah. Yep. The way they kill fishes on the street. Yeah. Now we don't see that in Chinatown. These pictures are in Chinatown. Yeah. And sometimes for the younger generation, they tend to think that Chinatown is very romantic in a way. People romanticize the past, yeah, especially those who don't really go through and live there. A lot of people write about, we lost this flavor, we lost that flavor, and we should bring it back. But I passed through that time and I shot those pictures, but it's not really that romantic and a place where you want to keep it that way, like you skin the fish on the road, you skin the chicken, I think, yeah, that way on a big barrel, and then you get all the smell and all the feathers flying, and then as you walk, you'll be stepping on puddles of water, and these are all black colored water and slimy. Yeah, but all this is gone, and no one can prove it, because when they take those photographs, they take the architecture, right? They take some people, and they don't really take all this, what you call dirty stuff, lah. Yeah. So a lot of time when we look at conservation work, which you all will be dealing with in your upper years, yeah. And people tend to think that we have lost this, we have lost that, but they don't realize that actually we need to clean this up, because it's a way that disease get transmitted. Yeah. So we need to put in what we call gentrification. We need to put in clean water. We need to get rid of the sewer water. We need to clean up things. Okay. So yeah. Again, you can see that the outside road is where people does their things. They skin anywhere. Yeah. They chit chat. This probably doesn't pass our hygiene test now. Yeah. But those days it was part of life. Yeah. Yeah, look at this. You look at this picture. You can really see the potholes, and the slimy, refractive road. And this will be gone after 10 o'clock. Something else will happen. And then in the night, they'll push out the tables, and then you have makan, you have frying, and things like that. So the street life change according to time. We don't really have that now, because if you have a shop, you like almost so 24 hours the same thing. Yeah, you don't change it. But these are space where it doesn't really belong to anybody. Maybe it belongs to the government, public, places where individuals need to negotiate to have a store there. So they sort of created that kind of mode of operation, yeah, which we don't have. Yeah, we can bring back to a certain extent maybe a way or mode of operation, selling something at different time of the days, yeah. But it takes a bit of effort, it's quite tedious, you keep today, you push it back, you move it up again. So it's a lot of work in terms of the routine. Yeah, again, we have even makan in the back street, yeah. This is also happening in Chinatown, just beside the mosque, not mosque, sorry, it's a Hindu temple, yeah. Okay, next. Well, different races will have different profession. Like in this case, in Singapore, we do have the guards. Usually are the Sikh, yeah, yeah. Okay, then bring you a little bit further to China. This was shot, I think, in 1989. Yeah. What I realized is about photography has maybe a mission that each of us as a photographer can do, is to record all this history so that we can review it and translate it or relate it to other people at different period of time. Now the question then is, how do we take a picture that could be enjoyed like 20 years later and not at this point of time, because you have seen it so often, even back in your own place like Johor, you've probably seen some of this still happening. Yeah. And that was me, where I travelled when I was younger, skinny. And that is a boat that I took along the, I think was the Zhujiang River in Guangzhou. So it's like triple deck, because for them they have to cram a lot of people, so they have plenty of deck. So even if I sit upright, right, I got to sort of bend a little bit. It's just highly uncomfortable, but those were the days where things are being done that way, yeah. Almost like refugees in a way. I can feel like a bit like that, crammed and all that. Yeah. And this is an incident where people quarrel over their bicycle. Yeah. Next. So what can photography do? So one way is to be able to relate culture by lifting up your cameras, by looking at a certain direction, by focusing on something and then frame it with your viewfinder. what we are doing is we actually focus. We are forced to focus. We are forced to interact with people, things, and events. So photography has forced us to become an observer, intense observer. Because the moment you do that, you really need to look at the thing and you frame, and you actually forget about the rest of the surrounding because you are looking through your viewfinder. So through this way of looking at the world, I find that I become more analytical, and the image that I see and the things that I see and attracts me begins to take its own form. Yeah. So culture is something that when you remove yourself from this part of the world to another part of the world, everything looks new to you, and sometimes you cannot figure out sometimes what are they thinking or why this happened. So what a photograph can do is you just record it down, yeah, and you see more of this record. Maybe 5 years later, you can understand what's happening and why the thing happened. So it's a form of recording, documentation, which of course to a certain extent that you have to be objective in a way lah, yeah. Although you frame it, because the moment you frame it is subjective in a way already, but the scene itself, unfold itself, you didn't really create the scene. Unlike some photography, like wedding, you purposely create the mood, you create the situation, but street photography is different. Yeah, you don't really want to create, you want to be captured by the scene. You want to flow with the scene. You want to be able to see something different maybe later on, yeah, but may not be at that point of time. Like in this case, like 30 years later, yeah, it's not at that point of time that I see these things, but a revisit through your photograph. And then it comes to a point where you need to learn how to keep your photograph there. Because for 30 years, I have to keep my photograph. So every now it's a huge revolution. In 1990, digital photography came in, and what do I need to do? I need to convert my negative into a new form, into a digital form. So I paid for scanning work to get it converted. So in other words, if you are doing documentation, you are trying to find meaning in photograph, one of the things you have to do is to keep your photograph. Whether it's hard disk or whatever, you need to keep it. And furthermore, if your kids or whoever will take over your assets, you must find a way to prolong that image's life. Yeah. An image can take its life on its own after you have snapped the pictures. Yeah, this is really Guangzhou, and you don't see the cars, the people. There are very few cars in those days, 1989, when they just opened their doors, I think in 1985. So 4 years later, we are allowed to visit the country. So very little cars, lots of bicycles, and if you take a scene of the road now compared to last time, it will be totally different. But it's the same place, yeah, Guangzhou, yeah. This is how Guangzhou looks, big time slum. Slum, yeah. My mispronunciation, slum, yeah. So the building really run down, yeah, and you look at the people and trees growing even on the building, yeah. Of course now you can call it greening, purposefully growing plants on the vertical wall, which we have done a lot in Singapore, yeah. But those days it's just natural because of deterioration. Yeah. Now, then what is photography about? Yeah. I think after looking through this, it really stared at me that photography has a bigger meaning. I think photography is a language itself. It's a language that we use to communicate. So it's just like writing. We take a long time to learn how to write. We compose, we write. And of course, for photography, we need to keep practicing so that we create a way of communicating that image, that language, to using that language to communicate to somebody. So it's also a visual language, yeah. So how do we use and create photography that communicates? Yeah, that I think is